Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We have a great audience here today, and thank you very much for coming and listening for this presentation. My name is Leonid, and I am one of the researchers behind the Hudson Rock operation. And just before we start, I would like you to imagine the next situation. You wake up in the morning, you check your computer, everything looks completely normal and fine to you. You see your favorite wallpaper, you hear the familiar notification sound, and there is no any ransom note and any kind of flashy hacks. Everything is completely good. But the reality is a little bit different, because you have been completely digitally robbed by a tiny and silent piece of code that managed to exfiltrate all your sensitive information. And the name of this code is Infostealing malware. So the reason that I'm telling you this story is because today, on behalf of Hudson Rock, I'm very excited to share with you more information about this threat. So let's go. So as you can guess, and what I like to say, on the chef menu for today, we're definitely going to speak about the Infostealers. I will explain what this malware is doing on the computer, how it started, how it's going, how this attack vector is also connected to the dark web. Because you're going to see how the threat actors, they can simply go and rent this malware as a service, and later they will go and resell on the same dark web forum exactly that information that they steal before. I'm going to explain about 4 mainstream delivery methods. Because if we have a malware, we're supposed to have the victims. And this malware is supposed to be delivered to those victims. So there is 4 main ways and a mainstream how this malware is delivered today. And I will also share with you 2 new methods that they were discovered by the cybersecurity community during the last year. Very creative, those methods, so please stay tuned until the end. Obviously, like with everything, there is some kind of misconceptions. And because I'm researching this threat for the last 5 or 6 years, I definitely hear some misconceptions about the Infostealers, so I would like to share with you them too. So without further ado, let's begin. So as the name Infostealer suggests, this is the malware that knows how to locate and exfiltrate sensitive information from your computer. And now you probably will ask yourself, what exactly this sensitive information is. So I'm pretty sure that all of you here are familiar with this window. When you create a new account and then the browser asks you the magic question, would you like to store your credentials? And all of us are human beings and all of us like the convenience because everything will be really nicely organized in one place. And we say yes, why no? What can go wrong? And I can tell you a small secret, because the threat actors, the bad guys, they also like the same convenience, because later they're going to use the Infostealers to steal exactly this information. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, at stage number 1, Infostealers will take all the data stored inside the browser, the passwords, the cookies, the autofills, all the history. Even if the credit card is stored inside the browser, all this data will be transmitted to the attacker. And stage number 2, the Infostealers, they will do some kind of scan of the infected computer to see if maybe there is some kind of documents that also can be stolen, or there is any kind of crypto-related information that also this can be utilized by the threat actors later. But it was not always like that. So I invite you to join me on a very quick cybercrime history lesson. So in 2007, Zeus, the first known discovered info-stealing malware, was targeting only one and single thing, the banking credentials. So basically the username and the password to your bank account. And 1 year later, 2008, Cobface was targeting again one and single thing, and this is the Facebook-related credentials. Back in the days, 2008, old people like me will remember that Facebook was a big issue, yeah? So everybody wanted a free account for Facebook. So the same pattern again and again and again, the cybersecurity community saw that one kind of info stealer targeting only one and single thing on the device. Until at some point, and I'm speaking about 2016, 2017, the threat actors, the bad guys, they said, if we manage to get inside somebody else's computer, why we need to steal something one? We can simply steal everything. And this is exactly the point on the timeline when we saw a new generation of the info stealers that know how to target multiply information on the device. So when the bad guys they manage to put their hands on this data, it will look something like that. Everything will be really nicely organized in the files and in the folders. And believe me, I can stay here until tomorrow and speak with you about those files and those folders. But meanwhile, I would like you to remember this blue cookie folder, because right now we're going to dive directly into the passwords.txt file. And in the passwords.txt file, we're going to discover the next situation. Everything is really nicely organized also here again, and please take a look at that. The URL, the username, and the password will be always correlated. So basically, the threat actors, they will know exactly the match between the username and the password and some kind of account. So they don't need to guess anymore if there is a fit of this password, yes, no, maybe. They don't need to guess anymore because they will know exactly the match between the URL, username, and the password. And also, please take a look at the passwords, because they will be always in a clear text version, plain text version, uncensored version, okay, you name it. And the attacker will know exactly the password of the victim. In Infostealers, there is no such thing as an encrypted or a hashed passwords. Obviously, all this data will be later monetized in completely different ways. So if it's a banking-related credentials, the bank account can be used for the fraud, for the money laundering. If it's a social media account, it can be hijacked and spread more info stealers. We will talk a little bit about this later. And if it's a remote connection to the workplace, like a RDP or the VPN, this is definitely a gold mine for the threat actors to deploy a ransomware. Or if you're speaking about the APTs, they can stay a little bit longer in the network for the corporate espionage. Obviously, here we cannot show the real data of somebody else because at Hudson Rock we respect the privacy of other companies. But the last one here with the hudsonrock.com domain, this is exactly how the attackers will get the data. The URL, the username, and the password. And application, it means from which kind of browser this data was exfiltrated. And now you probably will say, and by the way, when they have this correlation, technically the last thing that is left for them is just to log in. And now you will say, Leonid, all of us here are cybersecurity professionals, and we definitely know that we need to have a multi-factor authentication ideally on our all accounts. And I will say that's great. Okay, I always advocate for another level of the security. But do you remember this blue cookie folder? Because the Infostealers, they know how to steal the cookie sessions. So basically, when the threat actors, they have this valid cookie session, they know how to hijack the session, and this is exactly how they manage to bypass multi-factor authentication. Unfortunately, this works pretty good. And now you will say, Leonid, but we recently implemented or integrated some next-level AI-powered solution that knows how to maybe monitor different user agents or monitor different login locations. And I will say that is great also. As I said before, I always advocate for another level of the security. But the Infostealers, they know how to take the full digital footprint of the infected device. So basically, they can impersonate to somebody else's computer. So by combining all those factors, by having the valid credentials, having valid cookies, and also the ability to impersonate to somebody else's device, This is unfortunately usually when the next cyber incident begins. And this is a big issue. And I'm saying that not because this is my personal opinion, it is because I analyzed the data from 31 million of compromised computers. As you can see, this digital infection is completely all over the places. Canada, United States, South America, Europe, Africa, Middle East, Asia. We even have 6 infections from North Korea. Don't ask me how it happened. And to get to this global scale, you definitely need to operate in scale. And there is also a reason for that, because this malware, this info stealing malware, is available in a malware as a service model. Yes, you heard me correctly. You can simply rent a turnkey solution and you can start spreading this malware. So today, you technically don't need to be a nation-state level attacker. You don't even need to be a developer. As I said before, you can go to the dark web forums, mostly Russian language dark web forums, find those Infostealer representatives, let's call them the salesperson. By the way, it will be not hard to find them because they will under the malware area. Okay, so there's dedicated malware area in those places. You can reach out to them and they will provide you a full turnkey solution. They will get also the onboarding manager that will help you to set up all the infrastructure. And if you have any questions as a malware render, you can get a customer success manager, the support team that will help you with all the questions. And even if you discovered a bug, you can submit this to a dedicated QA team that will solve this as fast as possible. So ladies and gents, yes, this is the true cybercrime business, and it looks like something like that. This is the example of one of the notorious Russian language forums. I will not mention the name here. And full professional disclosure, this stealer ended their cycle at the end of 2024, but we still decided to keep this as a reference because it's a really good visual reference to understand how it looks like. So today, as another maybe 20 other info stealing families, they know how to steal data from over 100 browsers. They know how to steal the data from the crypto wallets. Obviously, they will take all the history, all the bookmarks, and the passwords. They know how to take the data from the Telegram, steal sensitive software tokens, and much, much more. And all of that is available as a service for $199 a month. So yes, the entry level here is a very low, but the value that the threat actors get from this kind of malware is very, very high. So this is the reason that we continue to see more and more also Infostealer developers and also people who are getting inside this cybercrime business. And as you can see here, on the right side, there is also a web panel that comes to this service. And on a professional language, we call it Command and Control Server, the C2 server. And I'm pretty sure that some of you right now may be willing to get a sneak peek how this web panel management panel looks like. And I'm not going to disappoint you today, because this is the example of Radamantis Stealer. And from a first view, it looks like a completely normal software. Really nice design, pretty good graphic interface, very nice color scheme, at least I like it. But it's definitely not a real legitimate software, because there is no such thing that a legitimate software will allow you to tick the boxes to decide what kind of information you want to steal from somebody else. Not any legitimate software will allow you to get to those numbers when some threat actor managed to steal over 6.7 million of passwords, over 3,000 of crypto wallets, and much, much more information. So maybe it looks like legitimate software, maybe it feels like legitimate software, but definitely this is a clear malware. So to get to those numbers, and again, we like millions and 10 millions of infections all over the places, you need to operate in scale. I mentioned it also before. And this is very interesting because they managed to get to those numbers because of the delivery methods that they simply can hit any company in any industry and almost in every country. So the first known delivery method, and those going to be the four mainstream ones, is the classical phishing. Yes, the email that you get, that there is some kind of sense of urgency, you need to do something right here, right now. It can be opportunistic phishing that was sent to 10 of 1,000 other people, and it can be also be a spear phishing, that targeting some specific person. The idea here is the same. You need to download the file, click, and this is the Infostealer. The next method is the fake ads. So not every ad that you see on the Google is a legitimate one. So what threat actors are doing, they take somebody else's account and they take also somebody else's credit card and they completely set up a fake campaign. So for example, they can take some software that each one of us is using on a daily basis, or at least is willing to use on a daily basis. For example, to reduce noise of your fan on the computer or speed up your computer a little bit more faster. And they will set up this campaign for the next time that you will search for this software, you accidentally will click on the sponsored link and you will be redirected to completely fake site, and then you will download completely fake software. So spreading the Infostealers using malicious ads, this is delivery method number 2. Number 3, the social media. It can be also hijack account on Facebook, Twitter, doesn't matter, or it can be completely fake account, but the idea here is the same. They set up some too good to be true campaign. A few years ago it was ChatGPT, but again, they can leverage any kind of hype that is on the market, and the idea remains as usual the same. The victim will click on the file, download, execute, and this is the Infostealer. And the last one that is related to the mainstream one, and I love this much more than others, this is the pirated software. Because each one of us like free Photoshop, free new game, or any crack for any new game, or unlimited ammo in the Fortnite. And the threat actors, they know it. So what they do, they take the files that spread usually on the torrents, they infect them with the stealer, and then when the people will look for the crack for the next game or to download the next game, yes, they will get the game, but they also will get the Infostealer. Another option here is that they can create a completely fake YouTube account like here, advertise that you can download free video editing software. It doesn't matter what kind of software. You will search for that and then download even with full instructions, and this is going to be the stealer. So ladies and gents, I know that I managed to throw on you a lot of information right now. And I want to simplify everything based on this example. So imagine yourself, you have the employee that works inside the company and stores the password inside the browser. It may be allowed by the company, it may be not allowed by the company. You know, people, they don't follow the rules all the time. And then this person simply doesn't have a patience or willing just to cut the corner by not waiting for the purchase order for this video editing software. So this employee goes to the YouTube, search for this video editing software, finds this channel, downloads the software, and then all the data is compromised. So from this point, this data goes to the attacker. And the threat actors, they are always willing to examine all this information to find something that is a little bit more juicy. And in this information, they discover a remote access to this employee company, and they say, wait, we can simply take this access and resell this as a standalone piece exactly on the same forum that we rented the Infostealer a few days ago. And it looks like that. This is the example of accesses to compromised companies that they offered for sale. And this is an example of Thailand company and also Taiwan-based company that we know in Hudson Rock that the origin of most of, not of most, but of some of those access, compromised accesses, is coming from the Infostealers. Obviously, they will mention here the country, how many employees, if it's admin access or it's a user access, how many devices. This is most relevant for the ransomware. And they will always mention the revenue of the company, because threat actors, they're willing to attack big companies. They are not willing to deal with the small candy shops. So this is, by the way, the full example of the full cybercrime monetization chain. We have employee that infects his computer or her computer by themselves. The data is transmitted to the attackers. They find access, they sell it, and that's how it looks like. In a few minutes that I left, I would like to share with you those two new methods that I promised you to talk about them in the beginning. And this is something that was spotted during the last year, during 2024, and this is called the fake CAPTCHA. All of us are familiar with the CAPTCHAs. All of us are known, and our brain is trained that we see the CAPTCHA, we need to do something. We need to count the buses, we need to click on the birds, we need to click on the, you know what the CAPTCHA is, yeah? And you can browse your daily website, and you can get something like that that says you verify that you are not a human, that you are human, excuse me. And it looks like a CAPTCHA, it feels like a CAPTCHA, and we say, okay, so we need to do that. And instead of finding the same family of the birds, you will get those instructions. You need to press Ctrl-R, it will open the run window. You need to press Ctrl-V, it will paste some already malicious script, and you just need to click the enter, okay? So you ask yourself, if you have a paste, where is the copy? And there is no copy, because this site already injected the malicious script into the clipboard, okay? So when you press the enter, it will fully automate the infection process. You don't need to download file anymore, okay? It will be fully automated in the background. And this method has, I call him the brother of this method, because the idea is the same, but a little bit different. And it's called clicked fix. As the name suggests, you need to fix something to proceed further. And the idea here is the same. You will get a message that says something is a little bit wrong with your computer. Maybe microphone is not working, maybe webcam is not working, or if you want to add friends on Facebook, just press this button and you get the same kind of instructions. Ctrl-R, Ctrl-V, and press enter. So this is something that is spotted during the last year, and please be aware about this. My last slide, and as I said before, I can stay here until tomorrow. Few misconceptions that I hear from different people. Antiviruses will protect me. Unfortunately, no. Number one, we know that some of the Infostealers know how to bypass antiviruses. And number two, it can be also the human mistake. So somebody is so willing to get this cracked Photoshop, so they disable by themselves the antivirus and run the malware, okay? Number two, MFA will protect me, the multi-factor authentication will protect me. And as we saw with the cookies issue, this is also not true, because threat actors can hijack the session, and this is how they manage to bypass the MFA. Complex and long password will protect me. As I showed in the example before, the stealers know how to take the password in a clear text version. And it doesn't matter if your password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or it's a completely generated 55 characters password, the attacker will get this password as is. Number 4, Apple devices don't have viruses. I believe that all of you right now know that this is not true, okay, at least in 2025. And we definitely see the rise of the Mac OS-oriented Infostealers. They still the minority, but they exist. Today there are around maybe 5 or 6 different families, malware families that are targeting Mac devices. And the last one, and maybe it's supposed to be the first one, is the most important one. The wrong cyber security mindset. It will not happen to me. It will happen to somebody else. It will happen to maybe again, but not to me. And this is usually when the most of people fall to this trap. Ladies and gentlemen, it was my pleasure to speak with you about the Infostealers, and thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much.